Welcome, podcast fans, back to the Lone Road iRacers podcast with me, your host, Guy Robertson. And this week's episode is all about one of the famous tracks that is no longer available outside of the sim. The famous Oran Park. And that's going to be our detailed look at Oran Park from cradle to grave. And that's going to be the first topic tonight. We have a second topic which is going to be about how do you actually get your first iRacing victory. And then we're going to look at iRacing news. This week on iRacing, it's been a pleasure to race on Oran Park in the Asia Regional FIA F4s. Now, that got me to thinking that we're racing on some tarmac that's now probably somebody's kitchen, because if you didn't know, Oran Park is no longer there in real life, and it is now a housing estate, which is such a pity. So I thought we'd dedicate tonight's podcast to Oran Park from cradle to grave. The Oran Park Raceway holds a special place in the hearts of Australian motorsport fans and sim racers worldwide. Its location is near Sydney, Australia. This track has a rich racing history before it was transformed into the latest housing development in 2010. But thanks to iRacing's digital preservation, this legendary circuit remains accessible to us, the iRacing enthusiasts. We're going to explore the history of Oran Park, its unique features in real life, and how it lives on in the iRacing simulator. Oran Park opened in 1962 and quickly became one of Australia's premier motorsport venues. Originally starting as a basic dirt circuit, it grew over the decades to feature a variety of configurations, with the most famous being the 2.62 kilometre or 1.63 mile Grand Prix layout, which incorporated 12 corners. The track featured elevation changes, tight corners, and a challenging combination of slow technical sections paired with a fast straight, offering a test for both driver skill and car performance. The circuit hosted some of the most iconic racing events in Australia, including the Australian Touring Car Championship, known as the Supercars Championship today, Formula 3, and the Australian GT Championship. Additionally, Oran Park was a beloved venue for club racing, hosting everything from motorcycle races to go-kart events, which fostered grassroots motorsport culture in Australia. Sadly, despite its popularity, Oran Park was closed in 2010, with the land repurposed for housing development. This marked the end of an era for Australian motorsport, leaving fans and racers reminiscing about the high-octane battles that once took place on this beloved track. And you'll see through the podcast on the YouTube version some of the images that I've put up to kind of show the austerity, the history and other features that we all miss of the beloved Oran Park. So you're going to have to check out the YouTube version to see that. Although the physical track is no longer with us, Oran Park continues to thrive in the digital world, thanks to iRacing. When iRacing scanned the circuit before its closure, they ensured that the track would live on for future generations of sim racers to enjoy. Today, it remains a challenging and popular track within the sim, especially for its technical complexity and old-school feel. In iRacing, the track is laser scanned to a high degree of accuracy, offering players an incredibly realistic experience that mirrors the real-life circuit. The bumps, cambers and undulations of the tarmac are all faithfully recreated, providing a virtual racing experience that mirrors the dynamics of driving on the real track. And we're going to look at some key features on Oran Park within iRacing. It has multiple layouts. iRacing offers several of Oran Park's configurations, including the South Circuit, the North Circuit, and the full Grand Prix layout. Personally, I also love, I think it's the Indy version as well. Each variation tests different aspects of a driver's ability. The Grand Prix layout, with its tight turns, chicanes, and sweeping bends, is the most popular among sim racers, and it is the most challenging one, especially on the first few laps. Oran Park is a technical challenge. Oran Park in iRacing is known for its technical nature. Their layout includes fast sweeping curves and complex chicanes that require precise braking and throttle control. Corners like the fast left-hander at turn 1, the tight double apex sequence at turns 2 and 3, and the elevation changes near the bridge are critical sections where races are often won or lost. For those of you who know Oran Park, you know that there's a bridge in the middle of the circuit. One of Oran Park's most unique features, both in real life and in iRacing, is the iconic bridge section. After navigating a series of challenging corners, drivers pass under the bridge before ascending up and over it. This section adds an unusual visual and racing dynamic to the track that requires smooth throttle management, and recently a few netcodes there as well. I've personally experienced them, especially on the exit. Versatile car compatibility. Oran Park is a circuit that suits a variety of vehicles. In iRacing, the track is featured across different racing series, including GT cars, Formula cars, touring cars, and even street stocks. Each type of vehicle offers a different experience, and sim racers enjoy testing their skills in the various categories. And finally, in this small section, timeless racing experience. Despite its age, Oran Park remains highly engaging. Many iRacers, especially those new to iRacing, appreciate the circuit's technical demand and variety. Whether you're honing your skills in a Formula 3 car or experience a close race in the Mazda MX-5 Cup, Oran Park rewards precision, patience and practice. So we're going to look at some driving tips now for the iRacers on Oran Park. So turn 1 is the key to a good lap. Turn 1 is the fast left-hander that sets the tone for the rest of the lap. A smooth entry here is crucial for carrying speed through the opening sequence. Brake lightly while steering to avoid unsettling the car, and hit a late apex to maximise exit speed. Now, I've experienced this track now in the FIA F4 this week, the Array FF1600, the Skip Barber, and I think also the Formula V. Now, we all know lap 1, cold brakes, cold tyres, blah, blah, blah. But lap 2 is also very dangerous as well, because that's the first real time that you're going to hit it at max speed. And it is a very, very dangerous corner for picking up off-track X's, hitting the traps and going on and hitting the barrier, if not other iRacers as well. So it's a very, very good challenge that comes very soon at the start of each lap. Turn 2 and 3 is the double apex challenge. These tight corners require careful throttle control and patience. Avoid overdriving into turn 2, as carrying too much speed can ruin the entry into turn 3, compromising your momentum for the straight that follows. Now, there's not much room on the left either. There's a bit of like a square concrete block and a bit of curbing, but it's not very wide. So, I've just said, it's really about reducing your speed and getting the best exit you can to line yourself up for a good entry into turn 3. The bridge commitment required. So approaching the bridge section, you'll need to have full commitment. It's tempting to brake earlier than necessary, but keeping the car balanced as you crest the hill can gain you valuable time. Stay smooth with the throttle and avoid overcorrecting. Now, for me, the first few laps, you can actually feel your car bouncing as you meet the crest of the bridge. and take the right hand apex. It is better actually when you're in lap 3 and 4 to slow the car down slightly to minimize those bumps and balance the car out. Last corner, nail the exit. Now, even before I read this little sentence, for those of us who race Oran Park, this is what I would call skittle alley or spinner's alley. If you go too far on the inside and accelerate too soon, you catch the curbing and the car spins, or you end up spinning into the barrier, bouncing off and hitting other iRacers. So the last corner is pretty much as dangerous as the first corner on Oran Park, which is one of the reasons why we love the track. So the final corner can be tricky due to the elevation change. Brake early and focus on getting the best exit possible, especially onto the front straight where good traction out of the corner can make a big difference in lap times. So why do iRacers love Oran Park is the next question. Oran Park's legacy lives on in iRacing, and for good reason. The track is both a throwback to classic motorsport and a proving ground for technical driving. iRacers appreciate the authentic recreation of the circuit, which tests their racing knowledge, car control and strategic thinking. Oran Park's challenging nature makes it a great circuit for both solo practice and multiplayer racers, providing the essential mix of difficulty and fun that we're all looking for. To conclude, though Oran Park Raceway sadly may be gone in the real world, its presence lives on in iRacing's heart, ensuring that its spirit will continue to thrill and challenge drivers for years to come. The track's rich history, combined with its complex layout, makes it a must-drive for any iRacer, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your iRacing journey. With iRacing's laser scan version of Oran Park, racers get to experience this iconic Australian circuit as it once was. Fast, technical and full of character. So next time you're looking for a track to sharpen your skills or relive some racing history, Oran Park is ready and waiting in iRacing's digital world. Now, you can probably see from some of the pictures, this track has hosted many different cars over the years, from minis to GTs to motorbikes, as it said. I've seen some pictures of karts on there. I've even seen some cars going the opposite way to what we drive today, which is an anti-clockwise track. So the iRacing community in Australia actually have gave the world a superb challenge, created Oran Park with all its undulations and technical issues it gives us, the iRacer on the sim. So if you've never experienced Oran Park, yes, it's a few dollars, but go and race it. It's very popular, especially in the FIA F4 regionals. This week, folks, it's been great racing. Disappointing at times with coming off the track and getting involved with spins and crashes, but that's why we love it. We love the challenge. So go and get Oran Park and race it. You will love it. Our next topic tonight is how does the new iRacer or the experienced iRacer get their first iRacing victory and what it takes to cross that line first. There's nothing quite like the feeling of crossing the finish line in first place in iRacing. The journey to the first victory can be challenging and sometimes feel elusive, but with the right mindset, preparation and strategy, it's within every iRacer's reach. We're going to break down what it takes to secure your first win in iRacing, from improving your driving skills to learning the art of racecraft and understanding how to make the most of your practice sessions. Whether you're a rookie just starting out or a seasoned sim racer stuck in winless rut, these tips will help you take the final step to the top step of the podium. One of the most important elements in your journey towards your first win is mastering the mental aspect of iRacing. Patience and persistence is key. Many drivers expect immediate results and become frustrated when they don't get their first victory right away. However, much like in the real world racing, success in iRacing is built over time. Now, I'm just trying to reflect back when I got my first victory. Now, I'm not sure it was in rookies at all, and I think it was probably the first racing was probably in the Radical. So I was well out of rookies by then. So probably getting on for 6 months to a year before I got my first win. And again, as that intro has just said, it's all about having patience. It's important to understand that iRacing is highly competitive, and achieving your first win will take time. You need to stay focused on incremental improvements rather than chasing victory straight out of the gate. Develop your skills step by step and trust the process. Each race will teach you something new, and sometimes not winning a race can provide more valuable lessons than actually finishing on top. So, as that sentence has said, reflect back on how that race has unfolded. Did you stay clear of some spinning cars, some incident going off around you due to braking early, moving left, moving right? What did you do to miss that carnage? Did you actually get 0.2 quicker per lap time in the last few laps? Were you getting more familiar with the track? There is always something to reflect back on. During a race, the pressure can mount quickly, especially if you find yourself running in a podium position. And believe me, when you're pole and you're on your first pole, it's definitely squeaky bum time as you're there. You don't want to over rev it. You don't want to under rev it. You don't want to spin off corner one. So there's a lot of pressure. Staying calm and avoiding panic is critical, as one mistake can easily cost you positions or even the race. Keep your nerves in check, which is easy to read, isn't it? But we all know when you're on that starting line or even coming up to the last lap, your heart starts to race, your nerves start to jangle. Keep focus on a few things. Focus on your line. And remember that consistency is just as important as speed. Don't forget to breathe. Try and maintain a steady, calm breathing at the same time. And don't worry too much. If somebody's catching you up, they've still got to pass you in a safe way. You've just got to be prepared to expect to see somebody in your mirrors. No matter how much experience you have, the basics of driving technique are fundamental to winning races in iRacing or even finishing them. To increase your chances of victory, you must first ensure you've mastered these core elements. There is some core elements in iRacing that every good driver needs to have. First one is braking and throttle control. Smoothness is key in iRacing. Most new drivers tend to over-brake, slowing them down too much and losing valuable time through corners. Practice braking late but smoothly to maintain momentum. Likewise, throttle control on corner exits can make or break your lap times. A smooth application of throttle ensures you don't lose grip and allows for faster exits, giving you an advantage on the straights. Now, that's one of the big things coming into a racing simulator, not something that is a game like Gran Turismo and things like that. This is expecting the car to react with how much input you put in or don't put in, i.e. too much acceleration, your wheels are going to spin. You are not going to gain any traction. And as it's already said, if you brake too hard for too long, you're also going to slow the car down and unbalance it as well. So you've got to understand the dynamics of iRacing. hitting apexes consistently. The shortest way around the track is by hugging the apexes in corners. Make sure you've consistently hitting your apexes to maintain the fastest line. Learning to position your car from the perfect corner entry, hitting the apex and powering out on the exit is crucial for maintaining lap speed. Now, that's not easy to do on every corner, but this is where your practice comes in. If you've got certain areas of the track that you're having problems with, jump into a test session on your own and just keep doing that section by section and making sure you get it nailed down, and then bring that practice into the race and you'll be a lot more successful. Managing tyre wear. Tyre management often separates the winners from the rest in longer races. Overriding the car early in the race can lead to excessive tyre wear, making it harder to stay competitive towards the end. Learn to pace yourself and take care of your tyres to maintain your speed in the latter stages of a race when others may start to fall off. Now, this is definitely a strategy you need if we're talking about oval racing. Now, I'm not a big oval racer, but I have experienced the phenomenon of the tyres basically going off because you push the car too soon. In endurance races especially, this is another aspect that you're going to need to learn. So it's all about not really going after the win on lap one. The endurance races are a long race, especially some of the 24-hour ones. You and your teammates don't want to keep going to the pits in between fuel stops just for tyres. We're going to talk about racecraft now. Now, racecraft is critical, and we see lots of participants in iRacing where they're out of rookies, but there's a severe lack of racecraft. So racecraft is more than just pure speed. It's about making smart decisions on the track, managing your position and outsmarting your opponents. Understanding when and how to make moves without putting yourself or others in jeopardy is critical to getting that first win, because you might see somebody coming to overtake you. They're a lot faster than you. Why would you try and block them? Or if they are coming to you very fast, but their driving is erratic. So once they've overtaken you, you can see that they're driving perilously, they're weaving, they're struggling to get good exits through the corners. 9 times out of 10, that driver will be in the hedge bottom or in a tyre wall or in a barrier and not complete the race. But you only gain that knowledge through experience on iRacing. Many first-time racers are tempted to make aggressive moves in the opening laps, hoping to gain positions early on. However, the start of the race is the most dangerous time, when cold tyres and close pack racing often lead to incidents. It's a skill to avoid the unnecessary risks during the first few laps and let the race come to you. Often staying out of trouble early on will position you for a stronger finish later in the race. Now, that is a real key, especially in iRacing. People who have been listening to the podcast for a few years will know one strategy if you're close to demotion is starting from the pits, because how many of us in iRacing pick up 4x, 8x, 12x on the first lap because they are crazy drivers who are just trying to win lap one, and we know that is never going to achieve it. So one of the key things that this little section is talking about is having patience, staying away from the people who look absolute maniacs on the track, because they will not finish the race. I can guarantee you that. Not every corner is an overtaking opportunity either, and forcing a pass can lead to a collision or put you off the track. Plan your overtakes carefully by studying your opponent's weaknesses. Often the best time to make a move is when your opponent makes a small mistake, giving you that opportunity to get alongside and complete the pass without taking excessive risks. Now, an overtake is a risk. You've got to make sure your opposition driver knows that you're there. You've got to understand that that person may or may not allow you to pass, even though you are faster. So you've got to have a little bit of patience, understand which corners they are taking on a different line from you, or just stay behind them till you have that opportunity where they have made a small mistake, gone a bit wide, and you can go through the gap that's now made itself obvious. Defensive driving is another key art of racecraft. Now, we have the sporting code, which says you are not allowed to block. You are not allowed to weave. I think you're allowed to block once. You're not allowed to weave. If you find yourself in the lead or in a podium position, defensive driving can be just as important as overtaking. When under pressure, avoid making it easy for other drivers to pass by positioning your car smartly on the track. Hold your racing line, but do not weave or block other drivers unfairly, as that can lead to penalties or accidents or even being reported. Now, let's take an example of this. If you see, let's say you're quite behind a pack of cars and you see cars weaving left, right, that is not allowed. In iRacing, that is not allowed. If you're coming up to a corner and you're starting to align an overtake, and the iRacer you're about to overtake jinks to the left in front of you, that is called blocking. That is also not allowed. Now, what is allowed? If you're coming, if you can see there's a car catching you up, and you take the right hand side of the track, getting ready for a right hand corner, you can take the right hand side of the track and be consistent and not jink to the left. You are allowed to stay on the right hand side of the track all the way through into the bend. That is allowed. So that's called defensive driving. So what else? Optimizing your practice sessions. Now, practice. We hear that in every single thing you do in life. We couldn't walk when we were born. We practice, and guess what? We can walk. We didn't know how to talk when we were born. We practice, and now we can talk. And it's the same in iRacing, folks. Winning a race often comes down to how well prepared you are. To increase your chances of success, you must make the best of your practice sessions. Practicing with a clear purpose and a focus on specific areas for improvement is crucial for building race winning speed and consistency. If you've got no strategy for your practice sessions, why are you practicing? Is it track familiarity, which we're going to touch on in a minute? Is it qualifying pace? Is it practicing pit changes? Is it practicing in traffic? There's lots of aspects of how you should structure your own personal practice or your team's practice as well, because this can be for endurance races as well. So track familiarity. Before every race, spend time familiarising yourself with the circuit, learning the braking zones, corner types and key overtaking spots. The more laps you do, the more comfortable you'll be during the race. Aim to develop a rhythm around the track so that it becomes second nature, allowing you to focus on racing rather than survival. Now, something as well that I would like people to practice, and I personally do, is going into the pits. Now, don't just keep going round and round on the track, because at some point you will need to find out where the pit entry is, where the cones are, to make sure you're at the limit of the speed within the pits itself, because guess what, if you don't practice that, you're going to get a black flag and a stop and go penalty. So why wouldn't you practice that as well, folks? Also practice exiting the pit. Now, for rookies and other iRacers who are no longer rookies and should know better, before you come out the pits, check your relative. If somebody is on their start of their fast lap and you come out that pits and spoil their lap, that's not fair on that racer. That's not fair on you. You'll either make contact, you'll get some abuse off that iRacer whose lap you've spoiled. So please, everybody, just have a look at your relative just before you come out the pits to make sure it is clear to actually exit onto the track. Qualifying pace versus race pace. So qualifying fast is great, but racing requires a different mindset. During practice, balance your efforts between setting one fast lap or running consistent stints. Practice race simulations with a full fuel load to understand how the car behaves over longer runs, and be prepared for changes in grip and balance as the tyres wear down. Now that is another good way to practice and part of your strategy as well. How many times do we see racers getting a good lap, sitting on pole, and actually they can't race for toffee because they're quite quick, but they've got no consistency and no racecraft. We see that all the while. So, which is best, having a quick lap time or a consistent lap time? I'll leave you to make that wise decision yourselves. What about practicing in traffic? Solo practice is essential, but it's equally important to practice in traffic. Many new drivers find themselves overwhelmed when they're surrounded by other cars in a race. Join practice sessions with other drivers or try unofficial races to get a real feel for the race, for racing in close proximity. The more comfortable you are driving in a pack, the more likely you are to stay composed during the actual race. Moving into choosing the right series and the car to get your first victory. Picking the right series can also play a role in getting your first iRacing victory. Some cars and series are more beginner friendly, while others are highly competitive and harder to win in. If you're struggling to get your first win, consider trying out different cars or series that suit your driving style and ability. For new drivers, you've got to be in rookies anyway, so you're going to get to be able to drive the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup or the Skip Barber Formula 2000. These provide excellent opportunities to develop racecraft and improve consistency without the complexity of high-powered cars. These vehicles are more forgiving, making them ideal for learning and fundamentals of iRacing. Consider the strength of field as well. Now, sometimes this is out of your control, but pay attention to the strength of field in each race. Higher SOF or strength of field races tend to feature more skilled and experienced drivers, making it harder to win. If you're close to your first victory, consider entering races with a slightly lower SOF to increase your chance of finishing at the top. To conclude this section, securing your first win in iRacing isn't just about raw speed. It's about mastering a suite of basics, refining your racecraft, understanding how to approach each race with the right mindset. Remember, the journey to victory is a marathon and not a sprint. Embrace the learning process, stay patient and focus on making steady improvements with every session. Before long, you'll be standing on the top step of the virtual platform. Not that we've got one, iRacing, please put one in there. Basking in the glory of your hard-earned triumph. So the message is keep pushing, stay focused, and above all, enjoy the ride. Your first iRacing victory won't be long, it's just around the corner. Our first hot news is an update on the IndyCar Bookkicker iRacing Pro Series second round results at the infamous Long Beach. For the second straight week to open the inaugural IndyCar Bookkicker iRacing Pro Series season, it was Team Redline Honda taking the checkered flag. Cooper Webster wasn't among the group of Team Redline drivers that locked out the top 5 finishing positions at Indianapolis, but he was unstoppable in the Thursday night race at Long Beach. I'm super stoked, I'm so happy, Webster said post-race. After Indianapolis, that was a nightmare for me. I couldn't figure out where the pace was. I was just slower than all of my teammates. To come here, I just grinded. I worked as hard as I could every day to try and get the pace back. The pace was good, and when it was down to putting in a lap down in qualifying, I've been struggling lately with that, but this time it was really good. And then it was just eyes forward in the race. Super happy to bring it home. Webster started from the pole position, leading 35 of the 40 laps in the event. Only giving up laps led to Apex Racing teams Peter Berryman and Williams Esports Soto Muto through the green flag pit cycle. Methodically cutting through the traffic throughout the night, Webster claimed his first win by over 5 seconds back to Berryman and nearly 7 seconds over his team redline teammate Diogo Pinto in third. So the top 3 at Long Beach were Diogo Pinto, in third Peter Berryman and Cooper Webster. But what does that do to the overall championship? So with those points added, in third place is Peter Berryman with 64 points, Diogo Pinto in second with 65 points, and our new leader at the moment with 72 points goes to Cooper Webster. Stay in touch with the podcast as we continue the final, and we'll update you weekly when the results are in. Our next news event is all around the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Contender Series, which begins on September the 21st. Following the conclusion of the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup Qualifying Series, the next rung on the Pro Sports Car Series ladders in the Contender Series, and the field is set for 6 straight weeks of competition to determine who advances into the next year's top level series. Per the rulebook, the top 15 drivers in the qualifying series points were awarded a chance to be a qualifier in the contender round. Those up-and-coming drivers will face off against the relegated bottom 15 drivers from 2024's Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup season. Up to 5 more spots are awarded by Porsche to make a maximum field of 35 drivers for the contender competition. After 6 races in the qualifying series, Tristan Iglesias scored enough points to be crowned the qualifying series champion. Iglesias outmatched Elvis Rankin by a mere 13 points, both picking up a win throughout the season as well. After consideration of possible qualified drivers, 34 drivers will make up the 2024 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup contender roster. In total, 30 drivers are entered by virtue of the results of the Super Cup earlier this year, with 11 relegated drivers from the top-level Super Cup series attempting to earn their licences back. That leaves 19 spots open for drivers to advance from the results of the qualifying series. 4 more drivers have been awarded spots in the field by Porsche themselves. This year's contender ranks will see the return of a couple of familiar names looking to return to the top-level series. After a few years off, 2-time champion Joshua Rogers, along with multi-time winners Mitchell de Jong and Dane Warren, will aim to rejoin the fight for the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup title once again. They're bringing with them a ton of other setup teammates, including both Tristan Iglesias and Elvis Rankin, the top 2 from the qualifying points, through and into the contender conversation. So who has advanced so far and who has relegated? If you want to have a look, check it out on the forums. Basically, the contender series is going to race on 6 tracks, starting on the 21st September at the Algarve International Circuit, then moving to Okayama on the 28th of September, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca on the 5th of October, New Circuit Zolder on the 12th of October, Sachsenring on the 19th of October, and the finale at New Spa on the 26th of October. So if you're in the contender series, good luck with that. We'll try and give you an update once the qualifiers have been named. Finally in the news this week, A sim racer wins the British F4 Championship. From sim racer to winning the coveted Rocket British F4 Championship title at world famous Silverstone, record-breaking Deegan Fairclough is the latest esports graduate to make a super successful switch from virtual to real-world racing. Now in his second F4 season, Fairclough has dominated in 2024, not only becoming the first driver to seal the title before the season finale, but also winning an unprecedented number of races. His latest 2 victories at Silverstone took his tally to 12 wins, with 3 races still remaining on the calendar, thus eclipsing the previous record of 11 set by Alex Dunn in 2022. Fairclough, who had previously competed in junior fiestas, was given the opportunity to contest the British F4 Championship by winning the innovative Rocket Rising Star Esports competition, an initiative which was launched in 2022 with the aim of finding a young sim racer to drive in a fully funded F4 entry. Without Rocket, I wouldn't be in the British F4 or standing here today, admitted the newly crowned champion. I'm over the moon. I'm so grateful to everyone here for the support all season and really happy to win the championship a round early. This means so much to my family, added the 18-year-old exciting prospect. I've been racing since I was 5 years old, just me, my mum and my dad. We were scraping every penny together to go and have some fun and pursue my career. Without them, I don't know where I would be. We've come a long way, us as a family, with a lot of difficulties. Everyone knows how hard racing is financially, and the simulator racing competition came at the right time. With the pressure now off his shoulders, Fairclough is looking forward to the season's final 3 races on the legendary Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on the 5th and 6th of October. Therefore, he will be seeking to emulate previous British F4 title winners such as Lando Norris, Zane Maloney and Luke Browning, and last year's champion Lewis Sharp, of whom are making names for themselves further up the motorsport ladder. So that's congratulations to the British F4 champion, Deegan Fairclough. Well, that's the end of another podcast, viewers and listeners. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, audio podcast listeners, pop along and have a good look at the YouTube version of the podcast to see all the excellent historic pictures of Oran Park. There's some black and whites on there. There's some real historic pictures that are really good to see. Don't forget to share the podcast with your fellow iRacers, friends, colleagues, and anybody that wishes to be a guest on the show, sponsor the show, or even be a co-host. Please let me know as well. Send me a message on the email that is in the notes below. Until then, happy iRacing, and I'll see you on the track soon.